So today's lesson is a bit complex. We're just going to look at some changes that would have to apply in order for us to have the reduction in rent. So this lesson is more focused on how does the reduction in rent affect our income statement. As part two of the first lesson that we have done together. So as I've told you before, that my name is Aubrey Chauke and I'm your tutor for accounting. So I'm just going to get straight into the information so that we don't waste any time. So let's continue with what we have here. From the information, we are told that Chauke Tutorials is a formal business that was started by Aubrey Chauke in 2019. The entity provides virtual lessons to grade 10 to 12 accounting learners in South Africa. Contact lessons are only limited to Mahikeng residents. The business rents a conference room at Mankweng Lodge to be able to offer contact lessons to Mahikeng residents. The financial period of the business starts on 1 March 2019 for the current financial year. During the year, the business requested for reduction in rent because of COVID-19. So from here, what we know is that this company that we are talking about is providing virtual tutorials to learners in South Africa who are between grade 10 to 12 and are doing accounting. And then the portion of Mahikeng gets to experience contact lessons. And then this business rents a conference room at Mankweng Lodge to be able to offer these contact lessons to the Mahikeng residents. We were also told that the financial period of the business starts on 1 March 2019. In accounting, financial period is very important. So we know that the financial period starts on 1 March 2019, right? And then so already automatically we know when does the financial period ends. And we are told that also that during the year this business requested for a reduction in rent because of COVID-19 restrictions. One thing that you need to put in mind is that remember that during this COVID-19 era, business facilities cannot have 100% capacity filled. So meaning that they cannot fill their capacity like normal. Conference rooms or venues as during the level 3 could only accommodate 50% of their capacity because of those restrictions. So such things impact on how payments will be made and so forth. And normally during this time, some businesses would even close because like people wouldn't hire to pay such a lot of money only to use 50% of the capacity. So such things will result in a situation where business people negotiate with the hosts or the owners of places to say, I know I'm using your property and so forth, but you can't expect me to pay you 100% of the debt or of the expense that I'm owing while I only use 50% of the capacity. So it makes sense that there will be some discussions for reduction in rent and so forth. So we already know that this business was started on 1 March 2019, and then we know that already we're going to deal with a reduction in rent in our transaction. So we need to put this into consideration when we deal with this information. And here we are told that information from the trial balance shows that the rent for the current financial year was paid for 14 months. So we can already see that we are dealing with a prepaid rent expense. And then you know that our financial period is supposed to be 12 months. So this means that this expense is prepaid by 2 months. Okay, and then so whenever we do our calculations, we show the effects on the income statement, we need to highlight something like a reduction in terms of the expenses relating to this rent. Okay, So now let's continue and just try to show how this will affect the income statement. From the information, we are told that information from the trial balance shows that the rent expense for the current financial period was paid for 14 months, and they're saying that the total rent expense paid for the year is 54,400, and then this also includes the reduction. Okay, so this rent is a total that was paid for 14 months, and they say that during the year the rent expense was decreased by 10%. And then another thing that we also need to look at is the date in which the reduction took place. So this 10% took place on 1 January 2020. So it means that we're going to factor our reduction from the payments that we made from January up until April, because this rent was prepaid for 2 months and our financial period ends on 29 February. So the extra 2 months will be March and April. So now on the instructions, we are told that consider the above transaction and show how the income statement will be affected, and then shortly explain how the above transaction will affect the balance sheet. So we are going to explain in a short detail how will the effects of the adjustment affect the balance sheet. So now let's transfer the information that we have into an equation. So the best thing that we need to do is to write down our financial period. We know that our financial period is supposed to start from 1 March 2019 to 28 February 2020, right? So we will have to draw a timeline so that we don't make some mistakes. So in the timeline we would have March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. So for the period where rent is increasing, I will have to use a different pen so that we can remember that this will factor in the decrease. So this will be January, February, March, and April. So for this 4 months, for rent we were only paying 90%, and then for this period from March to December, rent was paid at 100%. So in a nutshell, what we were saying is that in the period of 10 months, these people were only paying rent at 100%. This was before the reduction took place. So what we're saying in a nutshell is that for 10 months, we paid rent at 100%, and then for 4 months we paid rent at 90%, because remember there was a reduction that took place. So, and then all in all these amounts that we have paid, the total constitutes 54,400. This is the total that we paid for rent, including the extra 2 months, as well as taking into consideration the reduction in rent. So if you I think that's correct, 54,400. So this is the period, the amount of money that we paid in this entire period. So we will now try to construct what we've written here into a short equation that will also take into consideration the reduction of rent. Okay, so I'm going to change my pen just so that we can have some colorful work. So we would have, at the end of the day, after taking all these things into consideration, we will have 10x plus 4 into x times 0.90 is equals to 54,400, and then all this information is what we've written here, taking into consideration also the timeline. So what we're saying is that for this 10 months, rent was paid at 100%, so which is why we have 10x here, representing the months where rent was paid at 100%. And then this 4 here represents the months in which rent was paid at 90%. So we are going to try and sort out what's happening in this bracket. We're just trying to sort out, remove these brackets and just have one thing so that we can group the like terms together. So when we do that, we would have 10x plus would have, after multiplying this into all this, we would have 3.6x is equals to 54,400. And then once we've done that, then we'd have to group the like terms together and divide so that we can, because this is the x that we are looking for, we want to be able to find out how much were these people paying before the reduction took place. So then we would have 13.6x is equals to 54,400, and then from there we divide by 13.6 all this side, so we'd have 13.6 and then we'd have 13.6 here, and then $54,400 divided by 13.6 gives us 4,000. So the x that we were looking for, the x is equals to 4,000. So this means this is how much they were paying before the reduction. So maybe we can try to rewrite this equation here and just substitute and see if we will get this total. So I'm going to do that. So remember, it's 10x plus 4 into x times 0.90 is equals to 4,000. So then it will be 10 into 4,000 and then plus 4 into 4,000 times 0.90. So this is supposed to be 54,400, not 4,000. Supposed to be 54,000. $54,400. Okay, so this is what we're supposed to get here. So let's maybe try to do what is given here and see what we get. So 10 into 4,000 plus 4 into 4,000 times 0.90. I'm getting 54,400. So this means that our x is therefore correct. So from here we will then need to check how much were they actually paying for this period. So for you to be able to factor in the decrease to get the monthly rent from January, you would have to take, let me see if I have the space. We can maybe do that transaction here. Remember that the x is equals to 4,000, right? So our x was equals to 4,000. So it means that the payment from January, February, March and April, the x that they were paying, the x that we want, the x will be 4,000 times 0.90. This x in this case would represent the monthly expense for this month. It will represent the monthly expense for this month. It's not some sort of equation. I just want to put it in terms that we can remember. So it will be 4,000 times 0.90, which gives us 3.6, so which is equals to 3,600. So now for us to be able to check if our calculations are correct, we will just do some mini calculation here. Remember 4,000 was paid for 10 months, right? So it will be 40,000, and then from there we'd have 3,600 multiplied by 4. 3.6 multiplied by 4 gives us 14,400, and then all this total, 40,000 plus 14,400 is equals to 54,400, right? So which means that we got the amount that we were looking for correctly. So now we just have to check by how many months is the rent expense prepaid. Remember, it was by 2 months, so you take 3,600 multiplied by 2. So under the operating expense on the income statement, we will have rent expense, and then we have 54,400 minus 3,600 multiplied by 2. You can maybe show here that minus 3,600 multiplied by 2. You will get 47,200. So this means that this will be the correct figure for the income statement. This is how much we were actually supposed to spend for the rent expense. So when we go to the income statement, we are expecting you to show that there was a reduction of 3,600 times 2, or you don't necessarily have to put this 3,600 times 2. You can also, somebody can decide to write maybe somebody can decide to write 7,200. But then the most important thing is that in accounting there are marks for you showing how you did your calculations. So all these calculations that I was doing here, everything that I was doing, is very important, because when you've done some mistakes, whoever will be marking will be able to check how you got those amounts. Like for example, let's say maybe if you did a mistake, instead of writing 3,600 you wrote 3.4, maybe this person will be able to see where the mistake was took place, and then give you some marks for the calculations. At least normally such transactions are out of 5 marks, and you find out that this is only worth 1 mark. But then the calculations and all this here, you'll find out that this is where you would receive most of the marks. So when you do transactions like this one, we really need to give it our all. And then now from the information, now they're saying explain how the above transaction will affect the balance sheet. So remember that in this case, what was happening was that from the information we were told that rent was prepaid, right? So we had prepaid rent expense, prepaid rent expense of 7,200, right? So now, how will this 7,200 of our prepaid rent expense affect our balance sheet? It will increase trade and other receivables. When you do your notes, like under the notes, this will increase in the trade and other receivables, right? So it will increase trade and other receivables by 7,200. Then from there, you are done. You have answered the questions that you were asked. So now, the most important thing here, if you check, was us being able to understand our financial period, us being able to understand whether there was a decrease or there was an increase. It was very important for us to be able to understand such things, which is what we have shown. Okay, so now when you do your calculations, remember to show all the steps. If you go through all these notes that I've written here, you'll be able to understand what I was saying. I was analyzing the information that I was given, and then from there I was able to know how I was expected to act. So this is how you deal with a rent transaction that has got a reduction. Just remember that each and every time there's a reduction in rent, you're not gonna pay more than what you're paying before the reduction. So it will make sense for the amount that you'll be paying now to be less than what you were paying before the reduction. Just pay attention to the keywords that you are given. I hope that this lesson was fruitful and that you were able to understand. May God richly bless you. And don't forget to get in touch with us. Look at the information that will be displayed on the screen after this, and then contact us, give us feedback, tell us how you want us to improve, suggest better softwares that you want us to maybe use, and we'll take that into consideration. If you have any challenge that you want us to deal with, don't forget to book your personalized lesson on the details that will be shown on the screen. God bless you.